Hey guys, Danielle McCarthy here from My Potential Psychology. So in this video today, I'm going to be walking you over 3 tips to help your children adjust to change. So the reason for this is that we've been having a few queries come through the clinic lately about anxiety or whatnot for children, and because it's school holidays at the moment, there is a transition period coming up for a lot of kids as they go back to school. And during these transition periods, that can be a time of anxiety and other difficulties for children. So there is some things that we can put into place to help this transition happen as smooth as possible and to reduce any anxiety that the child might be feeling. In my own personal life, I've actually had my daughter, who's not yet 3, and she's turning 3 soon, go through a transition. So at her daycare, she's actually being moved to another class. Actually, today is her first day fully in that class full time. So that's been a bit of a transition for her. So it got me thinking about a couple of things that I consciously did in the lead up to that to make it as smooth as possible. And touch wood, all is going well so far. So during periods of adjustment with children, changes such as a new school year or a new teacher, new class, or maybe there's some stuff going on at home that's requiring the child to adjust a little bit, this can spark some anxiety in the child, understandably so. But there is some things that us as parents can do to help the transition be as smooth as possible and help the child emotionally through these times. So the 3 things I did with my own daughter just in the lead up to today was, number 1, I did a lot of communicating in advance. So I knew that this was coming up for the last few weeks, her moving to this new class, so I communicated to her about it. So, hey, you're going to be moving upstairs to a new class, and we talked a lot about what this meant in terms of meeting new friends and doing new activities and all of that. And she actually ended up being quite excited about it, which was really good. And today she was saying she's going to be learning, numbers or doing these new activities, and she was really excited. So communicate, communicate, communicate. So my daughter's not even yet 3, and I'm able to communicate to her about it by just using really simple language. So it doesn't matter what age your child is, you can communicate with them. You might just modify the language accordingly to their ability to understand. Obviously, if the child's a bit older, you can, you don't have to simplify the language as much, but use simple language. But talk to them and talk to them about the change and what that means. And if you know the new teachers' names or the new activities they're going to be doing, talk a lot about this so it starts to become familiar. It's not so foreign to them anymore, and they can start to know what it's going to look like, and it's not actually that scary, and it might even be exciting. So communicate. The second thing I did, so tip number 2, is monitor your own feelings and emotions. So our children are constantly observing us and going off our own reactions. So if they see you being anxious, they're going to pick up on that, and they're going to start to think, oh, this is something to be anxious or fearful about, because look at mum, she's freaking out. So just monitor this. I know when I had to move my daughter from a family daycare, which she was so settled at, it was so lovely, but we just moved her to a daycare for practical reasons in terms of dropping off and picking up. That was really hard for me because she was so settled there, she was so happy, so I really had to monitor my own emotions and when I displayed those emotions. So I'd have lots of private conversations with my husband about my own anxieties, but I wouldn't let her see those emotions. I would just be very positive about it and talk to her a lot about it. So monitor your own emotions, because trust me, your child is always observing and watching, and they model your behaviour, okay? They're learning so much off you. So if you are feeling anxious about it, that's okay, but try to express those emotions and feelings at a time when your child's maybe not around. Otherwise, they likely will pick up on that, and they might start to show that anxiety as well. So that's tip number 2. And the final and third tip was reward. So reward your child when they do show positive behaviours. Maybe that's being brave or giving things a go and going to school or daycare even though they've been feeling a bit anxious about it. Reward those things. So I have days when my daughter doesn't want to go to daycare for whatever reason, and we'll talk a lot about, like, hey, if you go and if you do this and give things a go or whatnot, maybe we can go to the park this afternoon, or maybe we can play your favourite game, which for her at the moment is hide and seek. So I use little rewards along the way. So it might be cooking a favourite dinner for your child, taking them to a favourite place at the park, or doing a loved activity. So it might be sitting down and playing with them with blocks for a little bit, or my daughter playing hide and seek for hours on end. So reward positive behaviours, so that in these situations with adjustment it might be going even though they feel a little bit anxious or a bit unsure, or giving things a go. Okay, so they're my 3 tips. Communicate, communicate, communicate. So when my daughter comes home today, I've already told her I can't wait to hear all about her day, and I can't wait to hear the names of some of the new kids in her class. So I'm going to do that when she gets home this afternoon. So communicating before and after. Number 2 is monitoring your own feelings and your own emotions, particularly if they're a bit anxious. And number 3 is rewarding positive behaviour in your children when they do, be brave, or if they do give things a go even though they're feeling a bit anxious. And with those rewards, make them a fun activity or their favourite dinner or something like that. It doesn't have to be something that's going to cost you much money. That dies off for children anyway. So fun activity, meal, something like that. So I hope you guys found that useful, and you can put something there into place to help your child adjust to their next transition. Any questions, do feel free to shoot me an email at danielle@mpsarc.com.au, or alternatively on Facebook you can send us a private message. It is private and we respond really, really fast on there, so feel free to use that avenue as well. Otherwise, feel free to share this video with anyone you think might find it useful, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.